Podcast number 2. Today's topic is going to be 1,200 calorie diets, detoxes, and other things that are probably not going to work for you. So, just in general, 1,200 calorie diets. Who wants to take over? Why that's not a good idea? Just kind of a broad overview.
Huh?
Off to a roaring start.
Oh my god.
So we'll just define what we actually mean by a 1,200 kcal diet. It seems self-explanatory. What we actually mean is people eating an extremely low-calorie consumption diet that more often than not pushes them below their BMR, whether that be in conjunction with exercise or just because you're not eating enough.
Might be a good idea to go through some terms, just so people have an idea what we're talking about. When we talk about BMR, that's going to be your basal metabolic rate. This is a good way to think about it is just the base level of what you should be eating. It's what your body burns, just performing normal bodily functions like cell division, digestion, anything like that. So it's what you burn without moving at all.
Yeah, you're basically laying in bed, letting your body do its thing, and blinking is about the extent of your activity during a day.
I don't know, have any of you guys actually gone that far under? Like, eat below your BMR?
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, yeah, Nick. Nick, tell us your story.
Like how much of it, I guess, do you...
Just go over why you're doing it, and then some of the effects that happen because of it.
Okay, well, we started the competition prep in July of 2012. The show was at the end of November. So that's, 4 months, 5 months? Something like that. And I had 53 pounds to lose, which started out as like it's a normal calorie restriction diet. It wasn't anything particularly outlandish or special for the first 2.5 months. And I ended up not losing weight the way that my coach thought I was supposed to. So every time I hit this plateau point, he would take something else out of my diet. And it got to a point where he was telling me to get my carb intake through 15 cups of broccoli a day, which, if anyone's ever actually tried that, is just...
I'm sure that was lovely on your stomach.
Yeah, I never made it, actually. He could do it. I made it to 7, was the highest I ever got. And it is just, it's goddamn awful. It's horrible on your stomach, it's horrible on your intestines, it's horrible on your ass, it's horrible on your toilet. And so eventually it got too painful to deal with, so I ended up basically cutting most of that out too, and eating maybe 3 cups of broccoli a day instead. And at this point, we were probably September, October-ish. I had started eating basically meat, 3 cups of broccoli, and maybe like a travel-sized bowl of mini wheats or something like that. My overall calorie intake was under my BMR. My carb intake was under 40 grams a day, and my fat intake was basically non-existent. So I went from normal cut to keto to basically Atkins, I guess. And I hit a point where he wanted me to lose 1 pound a day, which I did.
Good lord.
There's a video that floats around Fit from my posing session 2 weeks before the competition. I was 185 pounds in the video, and 2 weeks later, or 12 days later, sorry, I was 175 pounds to get on stage.
How tall are you, Nick?
5'11". I started at 242, got down to 175, and when I actually introduced myself to normal food again, I basically gained 100 pounds in 10 months.
Lord. Yeah. So when we
Now my
talk
knees
about
hate me.
yeah, when we talk about not jumping into a diet that restricted, that's exactly why a rebound like that. I
Well, and
know.
that's ignoring a lot of the. It's not all just physical problems that you have. Like, there's a lot of like psychological strain, and there's a lot of your like they say that like willpower isn't necessarily a renewable thing every day. So it taxes a lot of you and a lot of you mentally, and you just wind up, crying on your kitchen floor for no reason while you were doing the dishes, which happened a couple times.
I know I didn't have nearly as an extreme reaction, but I remember when I was down to about 1,500 calories. I did that for about 2 months
Did you
in
get your
that range.
body the way you wanted?
Oh God, no! I looked like a deflated balloon around my midsection. It was disgusting. But I remember that I was like living for the half cup of frozen yogurt I had at the end of the day, and I was like 200 calories that I had to save. Otherwise, I'd just have a mental break if I didn't have it. And it was every day. I would struggle until I get to like 8 o'clock, and then I would chow down this frozen yogurt, and I would maybe make it to the next morning without like dying mentally. And there was one time when I had switched to this lower calorie peanut butter, and I remember sitting there staring at this jar for like a half hour, and then I ended up eating a quarter of a 2 kilo jar of low fat, low calorie peanut butter because I was so desperate to eat something.
Got a pound of peanut butter.
With a spoon, I just went hog wild on it, and it was because I was just that desperate to eat something.
Yeah, I can't say. I think the lowest I've ever gotten to was 2,300, which is right about my BMR, and that didn't even last long.
It's because you follow the rules and shit.
Yeah. I fell under, after my divorce that I mentioned in the last podcast, I fell under 1,000 calories for 3 or 4 months. And I'm 6'2" and was close to 300 pounds at the time, so that's pretty fucking bad. And I didn't function so well. I was on about 600 calories of cashews and maybe a little cup of yogurt a day, and that was it. And yeah, I kind of get what you're talking about, Nick. Sitting on the floor crying while doing the dishes, or whatever else. It takes a toll.
It messed with my memory. That was fun. I actually started an argument with my girlfriend at the time because I thought her posing suit was blue, and I had watched her order it. Turns out it was pink. So.
Well, I know we're all bigger guys, so our BMRs are, 2,200, 2,300, somewhere around there, except for Greg Moore. He's
my maintenance is supposed to be like 3,800, and it's nowhere even close to that now because of what I did to myself.
People gotta keep in mind that Nick's still dealing with the metabolic damage.
Yeah,
whereas
someone 2 years ago.
Yeah, or someone like me, I've managed to overcome it, but I think my BMR I think is right around 2,000, typically at my height and about my weight.
Well, I think Go ahead.
So, and when I was trying to reintegrate food, I think it was very easy for me to gain weight on like 1,800 calories. I gained probably 20 pounds in 2.5 months, which might not seem like a ton, but when you're only eating 1,800 calories, that's pretty dramatic.
Yep.
Yeah, and I know the only people I can even think of who I know we're using 1,200 calories as the number for what we see this, just because we see it a lot in group. It seems to be a common thing for at least women that's the magic number they think they should eat. But
Well, that's also where you get cut off at MyFitnessPal. When you eat less than 1,200, it starts to send you messages like, "Hey, we really care about you, and we want you to eat more, please."
yeah, the only people I can even think who potentially could eat something that low, it's going to be a woman, 90 pounds, 5 feet tall, something like that.
Well, I think the issue is, for a lot of them, their BMR isn't too far off of 1200, so they just kind of assume that 1200 is okay. Like their BMR is actually probably like maybe 1400 or 1500, and they just assume another 300 calories is probably a good thing.
Yeah, if a little bit is good, more is better. And I think when we think about BMR being on a sliding scale, like if you lose weight, inevitably it goes down a little bit. But when you eat below your BMR, it goes down dramatically because it has to get below the number you're eating at. Whereas if you have like a if you're even if your BMR is only 1400 and your total expenditure is like 1800 and you eat 1600, you lose a couple pounds. Yeah, your BMR will go down a little bit. Your TDE or your total expenditure goes down a little bit. But if you go all the way down to like 1200 calories, then your BMR will probably go down to like 1000. And so that same amount of exercise is only 1400 to maintain. So you're going to be, if you try and eat anything above that, you're going to gain weight. And I don't think people realize that.
Yeah, I don't know how far down this rabbit hole we want to go, but we see that starvation mode come up a lot when people talk about it when they get plateaus from
If you're
eating
gonna
this low.
say it right.
I'm getting there.
I'm just saying, some people are gonna bitch.
I'm just saying that's a phrase that you see a lot come up
Yeah,
in group.
I know.
And I know at least I've been looking into it more recently as to why that actually happens.
It's so sexy. Sorry.
um,
I just that study you gave me was just honestly was just
You like that?
It was.
Yeah.
It was really good.
The real keywords you want to use is either adaptive thermogenesis or metabolic adaptation. Nick actually mentioned it this way, and it kind of stuck in my head as a good way to explain it, is your BMR is sort of on a sliding scale. So
Within reason.
Within reason. So if you're eating below it for so long, it's going to shift. It's going to compensate for the fewer calories, so your body can survive. And that's why you start to hit these plateaus. Nick, do you have headphones in?
Yeah.
I'm getting feedback from someone. Sorry.
I've been assuming it was Nick.
It's Nick's fault. It's always Nick's fault.
I'm fidgety and I'm listening.
Yeah. So
If you're
anyway.
gonna send a PM about it, send it to Nick.
So this is why you start to plateau. And where am I going with this?
Well, that's what happened to me. I mean, there was a point in time where I dealt with a chick in Texas who was actually in the group. I can't remember her last name. Her name's Jenny, though. Anyway, she did some food stuff with me, like measuring my intake levels, stuff like that. And this was about the time I hit like 230, 240-ish, and was still going up. And she was calculating what I was eating, and she basically came back about a week or two later, and she said, I don't really know how you're doing this, but you're eating like 1,900 calories a day, and you're still gaining weight, and you shouldn't be doing that. But once you move it down there, your body gets really good at I don't know what you would call it.
We adapt.
It turns off stuff that it thinks isn't necessarily going to be used or necessary. So a lot of like my ability to function and motor skills and stuff like that went out the window.
Yeah, so that's why you can either number that in your head would make sense. You should be losing weight because it's under your theoretical BMR or whatever that is. But because your body is adapted, you're really not at a deficit. So
it really is a testament to our body's ability to adapt. That also works completely against us because you'll sit in that deficit for 3 or 4 months. Your body adapts to it like it's supposed to, and then all of a sudden you start piling food back in, and your body. It took months to get to the adaptation point. It's not just gonna turn right around and go, oh, everything's fine now, because you're living in this new reality with your physical self, and you have to bring it back up, and you got to bring it back up right. Otherwise, you see, like we always see people, they fall off the wagon for like a month, and then they gain 15 pounds back. Now some of it's water weight, but especially if they've been having that low calorie diet, it wouldn't take much to gain a bunch of weight back, calorie-wise, even if it's just slacking a little bit on whatever you're weighing and measuring and counting, because your
That's when you have to
BMR
have
is so
a
low.
cheat day.
Yeah, cheat days are now like the worst thing you could possibly do on those diets.
Mhm.
Yeah, so this is why, you know, at least whenever we talk about your calorie levels in group, um, you know, a 300 calorie deficit from your TDEE is what we recommend, because it's a slow and steady rate, and you still have plenty of calories to cover your BMR, and it's just way healthier for you in the long run.
Thank you.
Well, let's just get on to a little another topic here. I think Matt might enjoy this one. Talking about detoxes. So you work with all those sorority girls. I'm sure you have some great stories about what some of these girls asked for that you were cooking for. You know,
Remember the cabbage diet?
or oh my god, the cabbage
Remember when the
diet.
cabbage soup diet was real big?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck the cabbage soup diet. Fuck it. Yeah, these fad diets, these detoxes, give that shit up. Seriously.
No.
Don't make another human being. Don't subject that bullshit to them. I'm so mad my camera's moving. There's a reason. There's a reason that when some new person to the group comes in and says, "Hey, I just read about this lemon juice detox," that everybody jumps their shit. And don't do that, guys. Please don't do that.
Be nice.
But we see that so often, and it's bullshit every time. You know how your body detoxes people? It has organs.
I think that's the biggest thing, is that everyone assumes that because we live in this post-industrial world, that all of a sudden there's all this stuff floating around that our body just can't handle. It's just ridiculous, and that's the premise. That's why detoxes are such a ridiculous premise, because what they're built on is complete horseshit. That your liver and your kidneys can't handle it. I mean, that's a load of crap.
Yeah, if your liver and kidneys can't handle the level of toxins in your body, you have a much worse problem than you're carrying
Time
around
to
a
go to the
couple of extra
doctor.
pounds. Yeah, time to go to the hospital and get a fucking transplant.
Yeah,
Do
or at
you,
least on dialysis.
Yeah.
Do you remember the pads on the feet?
Or onions.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
the pads or the onions on the feet that are supposed to
Yeah,
like absorb all the toxins through your feet or whatever.
Yeah, like the equivalent of a fucking Biore pad. You pull it off and it's got all the nastiness on
Yeah,
it.
because your feet are fucking dirty.
You walked on your bare feet to go to the bathroom to put the pads on, dumbass.
I always think of it like the Swiffer commercials where they pull the wet Swiffer pad off, and that's just disgusting pad. Oh, this came from your body. Oh my god.
I
Yeah,
don't
so
know. I
shit.
get so tired of the juicing ones. I mean,
Oh.
Hey, no, you know what? If you want to like increase your fiber intake like 800% in a day, fucking go nuts. Because you will learn real fucking fast never to do it again.
yeah, having a total liquid diet that's going to clean you out. That's going to detox your colon real well.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, your colon might go with it.
Please don't prolapse.
Oh,
It'll look
Yeah.
like a foul.
that's a completely different imager group.
Late night imagery.
The big thing that all especially the juice detoxes tie into is they just do all the same crap that the 1200 kcal diets do. Is they're really extreme caloric deficits. You feel like crap. You might get way too much fiber, and then you're pooping liquid for days.
And you're losing water for that.
And then
Which
you
is
know
where
what?
you're, yeah.
And then you're
You're
dehydrated.
just gonna gain it all back.
Yeah.
And you just gain it all back. How many times have we seen people in the posts in the group? Oh yeah, I tried this, but then they gained the weight back. Well, no shit, Sherlock, you gained all the weight back. Like your body's like trying to hoard everything because it thinks you're purposely trying to off it.
The only good thing I can say with juice is using it as like a supplement to eating your normal food. That's fine. Juice is good. You get your vitamins, whatever. But trying to replace all your food with juice, that's when you're gonna have your issues.
Well,
Who was the old guy that used to do the juicers on the infomercials? What was his name?
Jack LaLanne.
Jack LaLanne, yes. Yeah. You would watch those infomercials and think, oh shit, this guy's 175 years old and he's not Asian, so he must be doing something right.
who was
But he didn't eat just juice.
Oh no,
That was supplementation.
Do you remember who it was that brought up when they do it in hospitals? Was it Sylvia?
I think I missed this.
Okay, so she brought up, it was one of these detoxy diet kind of things, and she brought up the fact that like there are certain scenarios where you would go into a hospital and they're going to put you on literally like a liquid IV nutrition kind of shit. And she said that even at your maintenance intake, through an IV with all liquid, you still wind up losing weight. Just because, well, I'm too dumb for that and I don't understand science, but apparently that's what happens. Like it's not 15 pounds a month, but you are still like coming down very slowly at a pretty steady pace, even if you're eating your maintenance intake or being force fed your maintenance intake or whatever.
I'd be curious to hear why that actually happens.
I would think something to do with absorption rates, but I wouldn't know. That's out of my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Could, it's something for the nursing people.
And you know what? Another thing with all the detoxes is that they can actually exacerbate your conditions. Like if you have heart, diabetes issues, because you'll have like the nausea, the weakness, the irritability, and especially with all the amount of sugar that's in a lot of those juices.
Anal
So-
seepage.
That's what they have the adult diaper section for. But
Yeah.
I work in a grocery store, and I have to walk down the health aisles all the time, and my eyes roll so hard that I think I'm gonna pass out when I see the different, especially around New Year's, the different little detox displays and stuff that get shipped, and it really is the most ridiculous thing to see that these little tea packs are going to be the miracle wonder drug for your resolution this year. It's not going to happen.
I forgot about the teas too. I mean, most people should know the way those work.
Teas.
They make you poo. They're going to make you have diarrhea. That's how you lose weight with them. That's another one that we don't really want to go into.
No, God, no.
All right,
But-
so avoiding the super restrictive diets and all the detoxes and things. I mean, I'm sure most everyone knows what we're going to say here, but how would
Don't
you
do
approach? Yeah. No. What would be a good approach then? Okay. All right. I'll do this because we cram if it fits you macros on everyone's mouth. Barring that, what do you guys have some good recommendations for how to approach food?
Don't go to extremes. Is really what it comes down to. Don't eat too much and don't eat too little.
The biggest thing is just being literate nutritionally literate. Like most people when they're like, especially if they're obese, is if they just cut out pop, they'll probably lose like 30 pounds. Because especially, I know in my case, that my first several pounds was just cutting pop and my huge ass bag of M&Ms that I would eat while I rated and wow every night, like out of my diet, and that was a huge amount of calories because I actually wasn't eating that bad. Once I stopped eating the extra post 8 p.m. crap, and and especially when you're like really 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 fat, you don't need to cut a lot of calories to lose a lot of weight because your BMR, your expenditure every day is going to be extremely high. So you can actually eat a lot of food, feel really great, do a lot of really cool shit, and you'll lose a lot of weight. And then from there, you have to dial it in. But your first 30 or 40 pounds are like no sweat for the amount of food that you're allowed to eat. So people just need to chill the fuck out about how low they go.
Yeah, and that's a good point too. Is those small changes can really add up in the end. You don't have to rehaul your entire diet right from the get-go. So cutting out the pop first and eating normal for the rest of the time, and then cutting out the candy, and then cutting out fast food. All those changes are going to add up, and it's going to become habit, and that's when you're going to see success.
And that's before we even get to the suggestion of tracking. And right there, that's a lot. Those are the easy things people can do that will sustain a majority of whatever weight loss they're looking for. I mean, depending on how ambitious your goals are, but you don't need to go crazy.
think I would say you have the rest of your life to like figure this stuff out. So a lot of these people come in and they set these just hugely unrealistic goals. And they want to do, they want to do 20, 30 pounds in 6 months. And in some cases, if you are over a certain, I don't know, BMI obesity line, yeah, that's totally possible. It's totally doable. But if you're under like 35%, I want to say, ish body fat, 30 pounds in a couple months is a stretch, and it's going to be a bad thing. And you just need to like slow down.
Well, how many people come in and like when they have a wedding, for instance,
That's what
the big one,
that's
right?
basically like
And they want to crash. They want to crash down to fit into to really fit into that bridesmaid's dress or whatever, right? To really be like, holy shit, how awesome do I look?
Like they're not going to take pictures on their honeymoon too.
But for a lot of those people, even 10 pounds would go a long way to their goals. And you know what? They'll keep those 10 pounds off. So like you said, they got to set smaller goals to work towards maybe that bigger goal of like that 30, 40 pounds. But they got to be realistic, because otherwise you're just going to gain it back, and then you're going to be frustrated. And then you're going to be stuck on the perpetual yo-yo of misery for the rest of your life. And then you're going to get all mad when we tell you why you did it wrong and wasted the last 5 years of your life on soups and tea cleanses and strapping yourself to a toilet like you're trying to launch yourself into space.
I'd say body composition would be another good one. Like, if you're coming in and you have, you've never lifted weights or done anything substantially elevated heart rate related, like, at some point body composition is going to change and the scale is going to slow down or even stop. And that you need to not have this like huge psychological fear of that happening, because it's going to happen sooner or later. And you need to realize that, like, your body is going to change, blossom into a woman or whatever, that kind of shit. But you know what I mean, though. It's like,
God willing.
We're waiting for the day you catch up to your profile picture. No, but I mean, like, you're going to start building muscle, and it's not going to be, you're not going to gain 15 pounds of muscle in a month or whatever, but sooner or later your number is going to slow down, and sooner or later it's going to stop, and you need to not be afraid of that as it happens.
Which is why we bring up, ignoring the scale, taking measurements, taking progress photos as a better way of tracking your changes over time. Just because, the scale is going to stop at some point.
Well, the scale is, you're not trying to get lighter, you're trying to get prettier, is the idea. I mean, for most people. Heavier, lighter, whatever. You're trying to look and feel better. And all a scale tells you is how gravity affects your body. What your mass is, as far as gravity is concerned. So if you're taking measurements instead of, stepping on the scale and saying, oh shit, I gained 2 pounds back. I mean, any of that could be water, or you could have just eaten. You might not have shit yet today, but whatever it is. But the measurements, they lie a whole lot. What the fuck are you doing? Okay, so that happened. Measurements don't lie as much as kind of the too long didn't read of it.
The only people that really should care in the end about the scale, I mean, short term it's nice to see the numbers go down, but long term, if you're competing in a competition where you have to be a certain weight, then great, yeah, you should really pay attention to the scale. But beyond that, the scale really should only be maybe at best kind of a trend of where you're at, because I know for me, like, I look better and leaner at 185 pounds than I did at 175 pounds. So the scale for me is almost like just it's tertiary for me in my considerations day to day, other than just to really kind of keep one eye on things. But I almost don't really need it anymore. I could probably throw them out, and it wouldn't make a big difference to me either way at this point.
I think that's a good reason too, when we talk about people wanting to drop weight really fast, is you can do that, but then you do get that deflated, soft look even when you're at a goal weight. Whereas if you had been, lifting weights or some sort of resistance work to go along with what you're doing and build some muscle, you're going to come out looking way better in the end, even if you're not going to be quite as light as you were expecting.
Jazzercise, Prancercise, anything.
A little bit of Zumba.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you're going from 0 to nothing, or you're going from nothing to something, sure. Whatever gets you off the couch and moving, as long as you're walking more than a block, you're going to be doing positive stuff.
It'll be a positive contribution, which actually leads me to something we kind of glossed over, is that if you want to lose weight, sometimes you don't even need to eat less. You just need to move more. So, like, adding that extra walk-in or the dreaded cardio session, that means then you can still eat a lot of food, but you're still creating a deficit. You're just creating an exercise deficit, not a food deficit, and that's way easier to sustain. Let me tell you, I'm having way more fun just doing 20 minutes on a treadmill and making sure I'm moving around a lot of work than trying to cut below like 2,700 calories to lose weight.
Yeah, you think cardio is misery. Try not eating.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can always play that fine line where you may be at a plateau, so you can either eat less or exercise more, and you got to find that fine line between, maybe you shouldn't be working out 7 hours a day or whatever, but
You also gotta find something that you like doing. Because like I've dipped off cardio for like almost 2 years now, just because I physically just fucking hate doing cardio. And if I found a cardio outlet that I liked, it would be a lot easier for me to dedicate time to do it.
I think it goes for any exercise. Really, for it to be sustainable, is you just got to find something you like. I mean, we're all going to recommend you do like a strong lifts program or something, but that's more of a bias on our part. But if you just shut up, Nick.
531. Read Andrew's posts.
Zach, everyone should be reading those anyways, Nick. God.
Yeah, that's a good point. They really should. They're smart. They're over my head.
But
there's not enough shapes and colors.
If all you do is Uber all day or pole dance or dance around in your underwear, which, I mean, we all do anyways, but if that's what you do for your exercise, then have at it. We don't really give a crap.
There's nobody going to bring up sex, really. Cardio.
Apparently not.
Yeah.
Well,
Of course you aren't, Nick.
Oh.
Hey, I'm not either, so shut the hell up.
Oh, you sad people.
Yeah, bro fist there, Chris.
You guys are a bunch of shit whistles.
We gotta get our cardio in
Rachel
sometime.
You and your stupid Rachel McAdams look alike.
Unless anyone's met my girlfriend, they're not going to understand that. Anyway.
I understood it, and you understood it, and that was the point.
All right, back on topic. I feel like we've covered everything that we wanted to get here today. Anyone have any last remarks about diets and detoxes and all that fun stuff?
Kinda. Might be kind of scatterbrained. It's like when we did our competition, there was this. Everything we've said already is pretty much spot on. Like it should have been composition focused. It should have been. We went about it all wrong, and I realize that now. But at the time, the coach that I was dealing with was more focused on the numbers on the scale, and the video I took compared side by side with the pictures of me actually on stage are like night and day, and I look like I'm emaciated and I came off a boat out of Africa or something when I was on stage. And had I been composition focused, I should have stayed about 185 pounds where I was in the video that I took, because it was physically most of the weight that I would guess that I lost in the last 2 weeks was muscle, and you can tell that looking at them side to side. So it's just, eventually it's going to get in your head, and if you let it get the best of you, you're going to be afraid of this certain number, or you're going to be afraid of seeing the number go up, and it's really not a healthy thing to deal with.
That makes sense. Like, not even just the bodybuilding, but anything. You know,
That's just
don't let the scale be your ultimate factor of where you should be.
That's the example I have, is all.
That's the exact, like I mentioned it in the last podcast, that's the exact issue I went through for almost 2 years, was just being afraid of the number going up, even though the number had to go up. Because I looked like crap at 156 pounds. The number had to go up. I had to eat more. I had to gain a little weight. It's the only way I was going to look a certain way, is to weigh a certain number. And it's only very recently that I can gain weight and it not fundamentally bother me, at least a little bit. Deep down inside when I stand on that scale, I see that it went up, it doesn't bother me anymore. But even like a year ago, when I was actively gaining weight and actively moving from 170-ish pounds to 180-ish pounds, it really bothered me. Every couple of weeks I'd step on the scale, and I had to get over it. And you shouldn't have to do that. No matter what your goals are, that number shouldn't bother you as much as it bothered me.
Matt, anything from you? Are we good?
We're pretty good. I don't usually weigh myself. My scale exists pretty much just in case I get drunk and decide, hey, I want to see how much less I weigh after I peed.
It's a valid reason. You got to track those not intakes, exits, whatever. All right. All right. Good job tonight, guys.